Morning everyone, how are you? So I thought I'd do a video on my experience of having an ectopic pregnancy. It happened a few years ago, so I'll backtrack a little bit and speed up to where the ectopic comes in. So in my early teens I got told I couldn't have children because I had irregular periods. At one point they stopped for 5-6 years. And they didn't really start back until I met my first serious boyfriend, which is my oldest boy's dad. At that point, I still got told I couldn't have any children. So I made him aware of this when we got together. That was in November. Came the following August, and I started getting really ill. Found out that we were pregnant. Didn't believe we were pregnant because we got told I couldn't get pregnant, but I was pregnant. Fast forward 3 years then, and I'm no longer with his dad. I met my current husband, Chris. We got together, we got married just over a year later. Then we started trying for a baby. We've been trying for quite a while and it just wasn't working, so we went to the doctors. Due to both of us having children, we couldn't get much help, but they did test Chris's sperm, and I had some scans and that to check my ovaries. I did have polycystic ovaries, which obviously doesn't help. I was also big, which didn't help, so I started losing weight. And then we fell pregnant in 2012, but that was a miscarriage. And then in early 2013, we found out we were going to be grandparents because our oldest boy was having a baby. A few months later, Chris told me I was pregnant. I was like, don't be stupid. But we got pregnant. 9 months later, we had William. And then I got asked if I wanted to have my tubes cut because I'd had a C-section. And I said no at the time because we weren't sure if we wanted more children. But also at the same time, we didn't know what our future held with William. At the time of asking, we didn't know anything about his medical sides of things, and I said no because we didn't know whether we wanted children. Obviously in the days to come, we found out William had to be tube fed. He had a hole in the heart, he had a cleft palate, he was deaf, he had PRS, BOR. It was a lot of things. And having another baby was, we weren't really thinking about it. We were having such a hard time with Christopher, who was then 10, and William. Life was busy as it was. I'd planned to return back to work, and Chris went back to work. He was going to take over my maternity when I went back to work. And that was going to be when William was 6 months old, and he continued the 3 months before he went into childcare. Childcare took him off the books because William suffered with severe reflux. So he was sick with every feed, and they didn't want to take William on with him being sick, not knowing if it was him being milk sick, reflux sick, or being ill sick. So I ended up giving up work to be William's main carer, and I still am today because he still has ongoing issues. But then if we fast forward, then William being nearly 15 months old, I started feeling really tired, more tired than normal. I was tired with William. I was expressing, so I was up every 3 to 4 hours, and we had to get up to feed him anyway because he was on a tight schedule of being fed via pump. But I was really, really tired, and I knew there was something not right, and I didn't put it down to pregnancy at first. But one day I just did not, didn't get any sickness or anything. I just did not feel right. I started to crave foods that I wouldn't necessarily crave, and in this instance, it was beetroot. I wanted a lot of beetroot. And one Saturday, I can remember it like it was yesterday, Chris had gone to work. Christopher was with his dad, so it was just me and William home, and I bought the test, took the test, it showed I was pregnant. We tried to work out how far gone I was, and because I'd been feeling like this for such a while, we guessed I was about 13, 14 weeks. So I got onto the phone to the doctors, or the midwife, the hospital, to get a quick scan done, because I knew I was further along than 12 weeks. We went to the scan on a Wednesday. Chris couldn't make it because he had to work. So my sister came with me, and William and Christopher came with me because it was the Easter holidays, or May bank holiday. It was one of them. It was April, May time it happened. I wanted Christopher to come into this scan. He was older, he understood a lot more. So Amanda watched William outside while Christopher came in with me. Started the scan, but I started getting back pain really quick as well. But I ignored it. You know, I'm feeling my first scan. The lady who did it said there was no baby, or they couldn't see a baby. Was I sure I was, past 12 weeks? And I said I assumed so. I'd been having cravings for quite a while now. I'd known I was pregnant for 2-3 weeks by the time I had my scan. So I asked Christopher to leave the room so I could have an internal scan. And again, they couldn't really see anything. And she was, are you sure you're pregnant? Are you really, really sure you're pregnant? And I said yes. So we did a pregnancy test, and she came back and said, oh, congratulations, you're pregnant, which I already knew. I then had to have blood testing. So I had the blood testing, and I got told I'd have to go back on Friday to have more bloods done. So came home, told Chris what was going on, went back Friday, petrified, because we didn't know what was going on. I knew I was pregnant. I had the cravings. We just didn't know what to think. On the Friday, we went back, and I got told I didn't need to have any more bloods done. We had to find out though where this baby was, because my hormone levels were showing I was at least 18 weeks pregnant. They told me they believed it was an ectopic pregnancy, but for 18 weeks, that's quite far along. You normally find out before 12 weeks if it's an ectopic pregnancy, and they're telling me I was 18 weeks pregnant, at least, from the level of my hormones. I had to stay in hospital that night. I had a further 3 scans. I had one when I initially went in, I had one later on Friday evening, and then I had one Saturday morning. Saturday morning, they could see a sac forming, and they were still questioning how far I was. I knew I was over 12 weeks. They're telling me I'm about 18 weeks, and the sac is just starting to form. But again, they said it looked like it could be an ectopic pregnancy, but they didn't want to keep me in hospital because I was not showing any symptoms. They needed a bed for the patients, and basically sent me on my way. Saturday, they sent me on my way. So I came home, picked Christopher up, and we went to the cinema. We watched a film, came back home, all was fine. We were then discussing Sunday morning what we wanted for tea, and I fancied fish and chips, but we didn't have any fish in the house. So Chris said, he asked if I was okay for him to pop out, because I didn't want to go. I stayed with the boys and Amanda. As soon as he left the door, symptoms started to to show. First I was getting really hot, I needed the toilet, I started feeling sick, I started getting stomach cramps, asking Amanda to stay with the boys. Chris forgot his phone, so I couldn't contact him. Then I needed ice cubes. So my mouth was dry, so very dry. I needed my windows open. It started really coming on fast, the symptoms. I was just getting hotter, the stomach pains were getting worse. I'd love to say it felt like labour pain, but I never felt intense labour pain because I had an emergency C-section on Christopher because he just didn't want to be born. It'd been nearly 12 hours since they broke my water, so I had to have emergency C-section. William was a planned C-section. Good thing, because he was just over 10 pound born. So I don't know what real labour felt like, but I know the pain was unbearable to the point that I was starting to fall unconscious. By the time Chris came home, he did some checks on me, phoned up the 999 for an ambulance to come out. We told them what we'd been told. At that point I needed to use the toilet, and they told him to tell me not to get up, to stay on the bed, not to use the toilet. I refused. I got up off the bed, and obviously the blood just shot, knocked me unconscious again. I fell into the wall, I fell into units. I was just falling unconscious quite a bit at this point, but I still had to use the toilet. Went into the toilet, fell unconscious in the toilet, but because I locked the door, Chris couldn't get in. He finally managed to get in. I was still unconscious in the bathroom. Came round, sorted myself out, or he helped me sort myself out. And I think I ended up falling unconscious in the hall, upstairs hall, and that's where I was when the first response team came, and then an ambulance came. And then I just started getting very cold. They gave me so many blankets and stuff. By the time I got to hospital, they couldn't take me into A&E. I went into A&E, but they didn't do many checks. I had to go straight into surgery. I started bleeding internally very bad, very quickly, and they said it looked really bad. They were telling Chris to, say his goodbyes to me, they loves me, and all that stuff. I didn't think I was going to make it. I really thought that was the end of my life, and he thought that was the end as well, that I wouldn't be around to see the boys grow up. Fast forward, so that was Sunday. The next thing I know, I did come around. It was an ectopic pregnancy. My right ovary had burst, and we lost a baby. And she was about 18-19 weeks. I was about 18-19 weeks pregnant, and it was a girl. Only because I asked. But instead of showing a little bit of sympathy, they came in and asked or told me if I wanted to take her home, I'd have to pay to bring her home, or they could do it for me and it would be free. At this point, I'd only just come around from surgery to be told that I lost so much blood, I nearly died. We were pregnant with a daughter that we longed for, because we have 4 amazing boys between us, but a girl would have been lovely. We were pregnant with a girl and she died. There was no aftercare. They made me get up and walk within a day of having surgery. The pain, I was in so much pain. I think I was in hospital for 4 days. But there was no aftercare. They just came in to check my BP, to see if I was okay, to make sure I was having a shower, that I was using the toilet, that I was walking. I had to walk so far to be able to come home. And when I finally did come home, then I had to phone our doctors to arrange for a district nurse to come out and take my stitches out. It was a rod because they cut where I'd had my previous C-sections. And I would say she came out, she took the the rod out, and I would say there was no care whatsoever. I was severely bruised from just underneath my boobs to my thighs. I was bruised. I was absolutely battered. My stomach was bruised. Absolutely bruised. I looked like I'd been severely victim from all the falls. I had no checkup afterwards to make sure I was okay. Nothing. There was absolutely nothing. It was then, though, I decided that it wasn't the time. No, not that it wasn't time. I didn't want to go through it again. I didn't want to go through what we went through with William. I didn't want to go through another ectopic pregnancy. The chances of it happening again is slim, but you just don't know. I went to the doctors and I had the implant. I had the implant, I think, 2 weeks after I originally went to the doctors, because of booking the appointment. And I had the implant then, and I had the implant for 3 years. Oops. So you have the implant for 3 years, and then I had it taken out. Going on after the 3 years, I had it taken out and I had it replaced. I had that implant out though about 3 months ago now, for health reasons. I needed to stop the extra hormones going into my body, to have certain blood testing for possible early menopause. So Chris then went to the doctors to talk about having the snip. They told us that it could take up to a year for appointments to come through to see a psychiatrist to make sure it's what we both wanted. Chris had an appointment that they asked for me to attend about 3 weeks ago. We went to that appointment and they booked Chris in for the following week. So Chris had the snip done last week. So there's definitely not going to be any more babies. But yeah, I had an ectopic pregnancy. I've had 3 miscarriages, 3 known miscarriages, where I've been at the hospital and they could see I had a miscarriage. I think I've had 3 where I've not gone to the hospital as well. And obviously I've had 3 pregnancies, 2 births, and the ectopic. I don't know what that counts as a stillbirth, or no, I didn't give birth. I had a C-section. But yeah, we lost her. So we found out 4 years ago that we were pregnant. 4 years ago, April, we found out we were pregnant. She would have been due in about September. So this year, she would have been celebrating her 3rd birthday, which is mad to think because I have a 5-year-old. we think about it. We think about it a lot, but it's not got to the point where I'm craving another baby. You know, my friends have had children, so all my you know, wanting to hold a baby and feed a baby and change a baby, I get to do it with my friends' children. No, I haven't done. Obviously, I've changed William. I never got to really bottle feed William like you would a normal child because he was tube fed. But yeah, so, you know, bringing this up to today, there's definitely not going to be any more children. And I hope that, you know, if you're pregnant or if you've gone through this as well, that you've had a better support medically than I have, because I really didn't have it medically. I had the support at home from, you know, Chris and the boys and my sister, my dad, my stepmom. I had all the support around me, but medically I had no support, and I hope that it's changed today to what it was like back then. But yeah, that's my story of my experience of an ectopic pregnancy, and going from being told when I was 12, 13 that I'd never have children to having 2 sons, 2 stepsons and 3 granddaughters. I think I've done pretty well. Absolutely, I've done pretty well. I'm coming on, you know, we're getting ready to celebrate our 11th wedding anniversary. So yeah, that's my story. If there's anything or anything else you'd like me to talk about, leave comments below, and I shall do. You know, I have gone through a lot, I have got a lot to say, but I don't want to talk about my life story in one video. You know, I'd rather break it down and talk a bit longer about a particular area, like you know, depression, or you know, the weight side of things, school, bullying, having Christopher, going through that divorce, meeting Chris, getting married, how his boys felt about it. You know, there's loads there to talk about. It's just, I'm so quick to jump from one thing to another. So yeah, if there's anything you'd like me to talk about, leave a comment below and I shall do. Otherwise, please like this video and subscribe if you haven't, and I'll speak to you all soon. Take care, guys. Bye.